Hello everyone and welcome to the ultimate ghost guide to Phasmophobia. This is easily my most requested video. I play a lot of games on no evidence. In fact, most of my day is filled with no evidence games, and therefore you need to understand the ghost personality, the abilities, the speeds, everything. So in this tutorial I'll be breaking it down into three categories. The first category will be the speed of the ghost. The second category will be the line of sight that the ghost has, and third category will be the hunt percentage, and then there'll be a separate category that's going into the ways in which you find the ghost outside of those three ways, and the abilities the ghost might have as well. We're going to be going through the journal one by one, starting from spirit all the way to Thaye. I'll try and make this tutorial as precise as I can, but only give you the information that you really need that's actually useful in the game. There's a lot of information that is just not really needed and you never use, so I'll try and be as precise as I can without overloading you too much. I'll basically give you all the information I use to win Nightmare, Insanity, and No Evidence games. And honestly, if I did play professional, intermediate, and amateur, which I don't very often, I'd use this information as well, of course. So I'm going to start this, instead of going straight to spirits, which will be the first ghost we talk about, I'm going to give you a baseline of ghosts. So ghosts have a normal, this is going to be a baseline of the most of the ghosts. This applies to almost all the ghosts. So a normal ghost has a normal speed of 1.7 meters per second. That's without line of sight. That's just baseline. It has line of sight. That applies to most ghosts in the game, but we'll obviously pick out the ones that don't have this. And most ghosts hunt between 50 and 55% sanity. So if you took like a baseline ghost, that's what it would be. And a lot of the ghosts in this list will have that. However, if they don't have that, I will be explaining which ones and why and how it works. So anyway, let's start off with the first ghost on the list, number one, a spirit. So let's see what it says. Obviously we've got the evidences down there. Spirits are very common ghosts. They're very powerful but passive, only attacking when they need to. They defend the place of death to the utmost degree, killing anyone that is caught overstaying their welcome. This doesn't mean anything, by the way. This is just word salad, which you will see quite commonly in the journal here, and I will call out any of that, but some stuff in the journal is important. Weakness: a spirit can be temporarily stopped by burning incense near them. Now, the spirits are pretty boring ghosts. There's not really much to them. As I said earlier, they've got normal speed of 1.7 meters per second. They've got line of sight, so that means that they'll be at 1.7 meters per second. However, if they see you, it will slowly and gradually get faster and faster and faster. So let's say you're getting hunted and you're running around here and it's running around near you and it can see you. It will get faster and faster over time, and it hunts at 50 to 55% sanity. So those are the three main categories I'll be starting with all these ghosts, and that is this. A spirit is a normal ghost in that sense. This is how I find out spirits. Basically, spirits can't hunt you after 3 minutes after you incense them. So let's say I'm getting chased by a spirit in a hunt. I'll incense it, and then I'll start a timer as soon as I click the incense. Then after 3 minutes, the ghost can't re-hunt you. So a lot of people might get this wrong, where they think it's after a hunt, after the hunt ends, but no, it's as soon as you hit that incense. So it could start hunting, I could incense it instantly, and then it can't hunt me for 3 minutes from that moment. Whether you incense it at the start or the end of the hunt, it applies. So yes, basically spirits can't hunt you for 3 minutes after you incense them. So what I tend to do is incense them in a hunt, set a timer for 3 minutes, and then I usually like to do it twice, because some ghosts might just not hunt you for 3 minutes. Like, there's a possibility of that, but if there's 2 hunts where it takes 3 minutes to hunt you after incensing it, then it's probably a spirit. However, you can also just incense the room that the spirit's in, but I prefer to incense it in a hunt, because one, you've guaranteed to have actually incensed the ghost because you saw it, you know, walk away from you, depending on, or stop, depending on what incense you use, and you know that it can re-hunt you as soon as the incense timer runs out. So yeah, that's spirit. That's literally how I work out spirits. They're pretty boring. That's basically it. Also, quickly, with spirits, they're not actually the most common ghosts. All ghosts have the same percentage chance of spawning. Just putting it out there. Wraiths. Wraiths are one of the most dangerous ghosts you'll find. It was also known as the only ghost that has the ability of flight, and has sometimes been known to travel through walls. Strengths. Wraiths almost never touch the ground, meaning it can't be trapped by footprints. That's true. Weakness. Wraiths are afraid of salt and will actively avoid it. So honestly, wraiths are one of the easiest ghosts, in my opinion, to find, as long as you've got salt. First of all, we'll start with the three categories. Normal speeds, has line of sight, and hunts at 50 to 55% sanity, so just like a spirit, it's exactly the same in that sense. So the way you find out a wraith is you place salt down in the room you believe it's in, and you see if it walks through the salt, which it probably will after a bit of time. Sometimes you need to leave it like a couple minutes. Otherwise, you could, if you are later in the game, you can place salt anywhere on the floor and then watch the ghost run towards you, and if it still hasn't stepped in salt, then it's a wraith. The only ghost that can do that is a wraith, or a mimic technically, but we'll get onto mimic later on. So yes, wraiths can't step in salt, and that's the best way to find out if it's a wraith or not. Another thing a wraith can do is actually teleport to you and leave an EMF reading. However, I normally find out a wraith so early on in the game, I've never had to use that. But wraiths are one of two ghosts that can technically teleport on you and spawn. It's never actually happened to me because I know it's a wraith anyway. But yeah, that's another thing to know. But yeah, again, use salt and you'll find a wraith really easily. Next ghost we have is a phantom. A phantom is a ghost that can possess the living, including fear into those around it. Inducing fear into those around it. They're most commonly summoned by Ouija boards. Honestly, I don't actually know what that means. I don't know if Ouija boards actually have a different effect on if it's a phantom or not. Anyway, let's go on to the most important thing. Strength. Looking at a phantom will drop your sanity considerably faster. So if you are, and I've got the stats here, if you are within 10 meters, which is heartbeat range, during a hunt and an event, you will lose 0.5% sanity per second whilst you are in that range. So phantoms will basically drop sanity. If they event on you, your sanity will drop. However, that doesn't really matter. Let's get on to how you actually find out a ghost, the phantom. So if you take a photo of a phantom, let's say it's doing an event right there. You grab your photo camera, try to take a photo of it. If you take a photo, it will show up in your journal as a 3-star ghost photo, or a 2-star or 1-star ghost photo, depending how close you were to the ghost. And the ghost won't actually be in the photo. Now, what I would say to be careful of, if it's a shadow event, they're very hard to see anyway. I would suggest being pretty careful with, whether you rule that out as a phantom or not. Shadow events are very hard to spot sometimes, but if the ghost is visible in the photo and it says 3-star ghost photo, you can rule out a phantom. Okay, that's going to be really annoying. So yeah, that's one way to find out a phantom. However, if for some reason the ghost never events on you or anything, then the other way you find out a phantom is by waiting for a hunt, and then this is honestly the way I find out phantoms. I'd say 60-70% of the time. Wait for a hunt and the ghost will be very, very hard to see. In fact, phantoms are probably the scariest ghosts to get in hunts because you can't see them. They have huge gaps between blinks. So the ghost will appear and then it might not appear. Let's say I'm running around this table. It might not appear again until it gets to there, between blinks. It's really hard. You have to use your ears really to loop a phantom. But that's basically a phantom. Those are the two ways I always work out phantoms. And let me just check. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else really that's important about phantom. That's the best way of finding out. So number one, take a picture of the ghost and it's not actually there, even though it says a ghost photo. And two, it's very hard to see in a hunt. Now we'll move on to Poltergeist. Poltergeist has got to be one of my favorite ghosts. One of the most famous ghosts, the Poltergeist, known to manipulate objects around it to spread fear into its victims. Strength. Poltergeist can throw multiple objects at once and with great force. Weakness. With nothing to throw, Poltergeists become powerless. Don't really know what that means, to be honest. That just means that they can't use their ability, I guess. But Poltergeists, so again, normal speed, 1.7 meters per second, and it has line of sight as well. And 3, it hunts between 50 and 55% sanity, like the Spirit, Wraith, and Phantom so far. They all have these same stats. So the normal speed, line of sight, and hunt to 50-55% sanity. So Poltergeists are great. They will tend to throw more objects in the room that they're in, which honestly, it's not really a good way of telling if it's a polty or not. If it just sounds like it's interacting a lot with objects. Any ghost can interact quite a lot with objects. Poltergeists technically do it more, but it's not really a test, let's be honest. So the way I find out polties is there's two ways. Number one, let's say the ghost is in the room with me right here. I do something I call, and everyone else calls, I guess, a polty pile. So what I'll do is I'll grab as many objects as I can from the room, and the more the merrier, because you've got a higher chance of it interacting with one of the objects in the pile with an object in the pile if all the objects in the room are there. Do you know what I mean? So I'll place every object in the room, in this entire room, and maybe even this room. You'll see me on stream do this a lot. Place all the objects on one pile, and then a poltergeist is the only ghost that can move multiple objects at once. So we call it a poltiplosion. So you'll literally see all the objects just fly off at the same time, which is really cool to get. Let me turn this off again. Which is really cool to get, and yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I get so excited when I see a poltiplosion. It's such a cool ability. That's the ability of the poltergeist, so it can chuck multiple objects at once. Now, if for some reason it doesn't use its ability, the other way you can find out a poltergeist, and this is what I like to do when I'm setting up for a hunt, is I place all the objects kind of in a what I call a polty line. So I'll do like a polty line or a polty lane. And if I'm getting chased by the ghost, I'll go around this lane of objects, or you can do it on the floor as well if you want. If you don't have anywhere to loop, maybe make a little line of objects leading towards the ghost room. And honestly, I'd like to say, if you're not sure if it's a polty, it's not a polty. So polties will just chuck stuff like a machine gun. Like, it's just bang, 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 stuff flying all over the place. It technically is apparently it technically throws stuff every 0.5 seconds. Honestly, though, it feels like it's faster than that. It feels like a machine gun fire with poltergeist. And when you see stuff fly like that, and it's also with more force, by the way, it can throw stuff really hard. Like, if you see an object just absolutely belt it into the ceiling, and all the other objects are flying off, then it's probably a poltergeist. But as I said, if you're not sure if it's a polty, it's probably not a polty. Like, you will know when it's a polty in a hunt. It's really obvious. If you've got objects on the ground, of course. So yeah, that's basically a poltergeist. Those are the ways I work out polties. So poltiplosion in the room. Let's say the ghost's in here. We'll set up a pile of items, and it all goes off at once. It's pretty cool. Like, everything flies at the same time. That's its ability. Or two, it just chucks everything in a hunt, just like a machine gun fire. Next ghost we have is a Banshee. Now, again, like all these other ghosts, we have normal line of sight speed. Normal speed, 1.7 meters per second. We have line of sight as well. And we have hunt at 50 to 55% sanity. So again, all these ghosts so far, Spirit to Banshee, have been the same speed, line of sight, and hunt percentage. Banshees are really interesting. They've got quite a bit to them. So a singing siren known for attracting its victims through song. It's been known to sing out prey before making a killing blow. Strength, a banshee will weaken their target before striking. Weakness, banshees can sometimes be heard screaming with a parabolic microphone. So let me explain this. So there's a few ways to work out a banshee. Number one, parabolic microphone. It's the only ghost that can make a unique sound on the parabolic microphone. It's a banshee scream. And that, my friends, is a banshee scream. Now, it's really satisfying when you get a banshee scream. It's got about a 33% chance of happening. So one way of working out banshee is you stand with a parabolic microphone looking at the room and just sit and wait. And you might hear some whispers, but it's got a 33% chance of doing a banshee scream. So if you just sit and wait, if you get like 5 whispers and still not a banshee scream, then it's probably not a banshee. Like, that's when I start to think, okay, this is probably not a banshee. However, a way of really working out a banshee as well is it doesn't ever change rooms. There's 2 ghosts that don't change rooms. One is a Banshee and one is a Goryo, but we'll get onto Goryo later. But a Banshee cannot change favorite rooms, so it will never change rooms. However, it will wander lots from its room. So it can, let's say the ghost is in here. It will never show low temperature in another room apart from the room it's in. However, a Banshee can wander to the victim. So a Banshee can walk to you and it can actually spawn on you. So you might quite often see when I do a Banshee test, I'll have a crucifix on my body so it doesn't spawn on me, and I'll have a parabolic microphone. And then the other way of working out a Banshee is to get a motion sensor. So what I'll do is have a motion sensor, let's say a tier 3 motion sensor on the floor here, covering this whole area. And I will stand away from the room. Let's say the ghost is in the garage. I'll stand away from the room. I'll have my parabolic microphone out. I'll have the motion sensor on the floor and a crucifix on me. And if the motion sensor goes off and then 6 seconds later goes off again without any events or any hunts or anything, just randomly happens, then it's probably a Banshee, because Banshees don't leave rooms, but they wander to their victims a lot. Right. Why's your heart rate so high? It's a Banshee. It's a Banshee. Did you just see that go off? Oh my gosh. It is a Banshee. I want to hear the scream though. So when playing solos, that's the best way I find out Banshees. They don't change rooms. They wander to you and it will show up on the motion sensor. Then 6 seconds, they hover for about 6 seconds and then they wander back. So that's a good way. So your motion sensor will go off. 6 seconds later, you wait. It goes off again and it wanders back to its room. You know, you can do this with salt as well, of course. You could place salt on the ground and see if it wanders to you, even though it's not doing any events. The best way of doing this, because all ghosts do wander, the best way is to get as far away from the room as possible. So in the garage, I'd go right in this corner, because no ghosts really are going to roam this far unless they're roaming ghosts, which is like basically just a Banshee and a Phantom. Oh yeah, that's the one thing I forgot to mention about Phantom, actually. They do roam a lot, but honestly, I don't ever use that. So to find out the ghost. But yeah, Banshees can spawn on you, so always have a crucifix on you if you think it's a Banshee. And the other thing is, so if you're in a group of people and you're not playing solo like I normally play, they have a target one at a time. So if there's 4 people in this room with me, it will have one target, and in a hunt, it literally won't kill anyone else. Apart from the one target it is picked. However, this doesn't mean the target can just leave the house and then the ghost won't hunt at all. It will pick another target if the target is out the house, and I'm pretty sure, don't hold me to this, but I'm pretty sure it will go back to its target if they re-enter the house. But I'm not. Oh, hello. That's not creepy at all. That's basically everything you need to know about Banshee, really. What is going on? Okay, right. That's a bit rude. So that's basically everything you need to know about a Banshee. So weaken their target before striking. I'm checking my notes. I don't actually think there's anything. I don't think that really means anything. I'm going to be honest. It just likes roaming to you and then roaming back. So maybe you lose a bit of sanity when it roams to you. I don't really know. Again, I'm only going to give you information you need to find the ghosts, and that isn't information you need. So, and that's not even information I know, so it can't be that important. So, Jinn. We're moving on to Jinn. Now, obviously, Banshees were a really cool ghost to get, and I love getting a Banshee parabola microphone sound. Okay, so Jinns. A Jinn is a territorial ghost that will attack when threatened. It has also been known to be able to travel at significant speeds. Strength, a Jinn will travel at a faster speed if its victim is far away. Weakness, turning off the location's power source will prevent the Jinn from using its ability. Okay. We know it's not an Oni, but we'll get onto that later. Honestly, I might quickly load into the game and then we'll discuss Jinn again. Right, so we're back in. So, Jinns. Basically, this is the first ghost we've got to so far that has different speeds to the normal ghost. Now, firstly, before I get into this, it is normal speeds unless it sees you, but we'll get into that in a second. So a Jinn is normal speed. So let's say you're just hiding here and you hear the ghost in the distance. It will be 1.7 meters per second. But the difference is here. If the Jinn, and I want to get the numbers perfect here, if the Jinn is over 3 meters away, so that's about maybe like this far away, it will be really fast as soon as it sees you. Now, when I say really fast, not like crazy fast, but it will instantly change speed from 1.7 meters per second to a lot faster. And it's pretty obvious. It will be super fast. So let's say it just walks out of that room over there on the end, comes out of that room. It will instantly speed up and be fast towards me. However, when it gets closer, it will actually slow back down when it gets within the 3 meter range. But however, the thing that makes this a little bit more tricky is that Jinn also has line of sight speed. So it will be super fast. It will slow down. However, if you keep wandering around, it will keep speeding up again, faster and faster. So that's mainly the thing with Jinns. And that's honestly how I find them a lot of the time. So Jinns will just be super fast, then slow down. And I'll be like, right, that's a Jinn. Slowed down again when it got close. And now it's got line of sight speed. That is a Jinn. However, this only works if the breaker is on. That's how the Jinn ability works. So it can only do this. So it'll be normal speed if the breaker's off. However, if the breaker's on, it will be faster from a distance, and then it will slow down when it gets close to you. Turning off the location's power source will prevent the Jinn from using its ability. So the Jinn will never, and this is one way you'll always see me work out a Jinn, and one of the easiest ways to work out a Jinn will never turn off the breaker. Now, it will turn off lights, but it won't turn off the breaker. That's one thing a lot of people are like, oh, it turned off a light, it can't be a Jinn. No, it has to turn off the breaker to be a Jinn. Sorry, it has to turn off the breaker to not be a Jinn. So Jinns will never turn off the breaker, ever, in any circumstance. So that's one of the best ways to work out a Jinn, because especially in the higher modes, it does tend to turn off the breaker quite a bit, most ghosts. If it's been a long game and it's still not turned off the breaker, then you might start to consider Jinn. But to be honest, a hunt is the best way because it's super obvious. It will be super fast until it's close, and then it will slow down. And that's basically, I'm pretty sure, everything you need to know about the Jinn. Oh, sorry, this is another thing. So if you do have a sanity board, the sanity can drop by 25% when the breaker is turned off. And also another thing you can do as well is put an EMF at the breaker. And if the EMF goes off on the breaker, however, the breaker hasn't been turned off, that means the Jinn's like try to interact with it, but it hasn't worked. So that's another way to tell a Jinn. But to be honest with you, I think it's way more reliable because the breaker might be really far away. You don't want to stand next to the breaker the whole time. So the best way, I think, is to just wait for a hunt and see the speed, or see if the breaker goes off. Those are the best ways to tell Jinns. Next ghost we have is a Mare. Probably one of the most annoying ghosts to find, in my opinion. A Mare is source of all nightmares, making it more powerful in the dark. So basically, Mares are the lovers of the dark, is what you gotta know. So strength, a Mare will have an increased chance to attack in the dark. Weakness, turning the lights on and around the Mare will lower its chance to attack. Everything is like a normal ghost. So they have normal speed of 1.7 meters per second. Line of sight, they have line of sight as well. However, this is the one difference. They do normally attack at 40% sanity with the lights on, but they have a chance to attack at 60% sanity when the lights are off or broken, that is as well. Also, the other thing is, when I say lights are on, I mean the light switch is on. So let's say the ghost breaks the light, but the light switch is on. Technically, that counts as being in the light, I guess. So basically, yeah, the Mare has a higher probability of hunting you in the dark, a higher chance of attacking you earlier on in the dark. Yeah, so Mares are really tricky to get. Honestly, when the ghost is a very normal ghost, so it has normal line of sight speed, it sounds normal speed, and hunted at around 50% sanity, they are really hard to get, and they always end up being one of the last ghosts I'm trying to pick from. But basically, the ghost will interact more in the dark, and to be honest with you, the only way to really confirm it's not a Mare is if it turns on a light. So Mares cannot turn on lights; they will never do it. And that's a really good way. So if I know the Mare, for example, is in a room, what I tend to do is turn the light off in the room for a few reasons. One, because Mares will like to move to rooms where it's dark. So if I have the light off in the room where the Mare is, so let's say the Mare's in this room, I don't want it to leave the room because that would be annoying, because then I'll have to reset up all my equipment and try and find it again. So what I'll do is turn the lights on around the room and keep the room where the Mare's in dark, or where the ghost is dark. And if it turns on the light, we can be like, right, it's not a Mare. Now, this does not apply, and I see a lot of people make this mistake. If it turns on the TV, that doesn't mean you can rule out a Mare. Same goes for computer monitors. However, if it's like lamps or anything, then it does apply. So yeah, TVs and gaming monitors, this doesn't apply to. It only applies to like lamps or main lights. So yeah, Mares cannot turn on the lights. One thing I forgot to say about Mares, they have an ability which instantly flicks off a light switch when you turn it on. So you might see me sometimes. I'll flick on a light switch and then it will instantly turn it off. It's what I use. It can be a Mare, but you got to remember that any ghost as well, and this is why I don't always confirm this is a Mare, any ghost technically can just decide to flick that light switch at that moment. So you can do something called a Mare test where you flick the light on and then you wait a little bit. Sorry, you wait a second and it instantly turns it off. Apparently you can only do this every 10 seconds, so you need to maybe turn your light off, wait 10 seconds, then flick it on, and if it instantly flicks it off, you might be like, hang on, this is a Mare. But I'd probably do it a couple of times just to be sure. And other than that, there's not really much to find Mares. Mares are really annoying. They're one of the most annoying ghosts to identify. If you get a light switch turn on, then bravo, you can it's a great feeling when you get a light switch turn on, because you're like, right, that's good. I can rule out Mare, because it's really annoying to get. So yeah, that's basically the ways to find the Mare. That's how I do it. Now, the other thing you can do, but it's not really a very reliable test. Let's say the Mare is, what should we say? Let's say the Mare's in this room, right? In fact, this isn't actually the best example. Actually, yeah, sure. Let's say the Mare is in this room. What you can do is place a light down. Let's say the light's off. Place a motion sensor down, and basically a Mare has a chance of instantly leaving the room if you turn the light on where in the room of where the Mare is. Does that make sense? I hope I explained that correctly. So let's say the Mare's in here. If I turn the light on, it has a chance of instantly setting off the motion sensor outside the room. Obviously, it could walk out this room and go to and leave as well. So that's something, but I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty unreliable, and I don't think I've ever really been like, right, that's a Mare from this test. The best way, again, is if it turns on a light. So I recommend keeping the light off in the room, unless you are in the room trying to, like, work things out. Because, again, the Mare will be more active in a dark room. It will start chucking stuff more. It might interact and try and break the lights more often as well. And that's about it. I'm not going to lie. Mares are really annoying to get, because if it just doesn't turn on a light, you can't be sure. Right, now we're getting to a very, very interesting ghost. A Revenant. A lot of people say they hate the Revenant the most. It's the most scary ghost in the game. A Revenant is a violent ghost that will attack indiscriminately. Their speed can be deceiving, as they are slow or dormant. However, as soon as they hunt, they can move... Sorry, as soon as they hunt, they can move incredibly fast. So that's sounds a little bit off what it really is. Basically, actually, we'll get into that in a second, because I'll go through the basic things first, and then we'll get onto it. A Revenant will travel at a significantly faster speed when hunting their prey. Weakness, hiding from the Revenant will cause it to move very slowly. These are true. So, Revenant's speed, we'll get onto in a second. However, they do have line of sight speed. Oh, no, they don't. They do have line of sight speed, but it's different. It's not a gradual thing, which we'll get onto in a second. They hunt at the normal 50 to 55% sanity. So the best way to work out a Revenant, and the way I always work out a Revenant, is in a hunt. If, let's say, the ghost is in that room over there, right? Just wandering around the room in a hunt, and I'm over here. It will be really slow. And these are one of the easiest ghosts to rule out, by the way, in a hunt. It'll be super, super slow. You'll just hear boom, boom, boom. In fact, I can give you the actual speed. It's 1 meters per second speed. Instead of 1.7, it's 1.1 meter per second, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a massive difference. It's really slow when it can't detect a player. Now, detecting a player means if it sees you, it can detect you. If it senses your electronics, it can detect you. Or if it can hear you, it can detect you. So if you're not doing any of that, it'll be really, really slow. And that even applies, let's say the ghost was there and I'm here. It technically doesn't know I'm here. So it'll be super slow. However, as soon as it sees me, this is the scary thing about Revenant, it will be rapid. Like, it will instantly change speed from super slow to from 1 meters per second to 3 meters per second, so 3 times faster. So yeah, basically the best thing you can do in a hunt is with a Revenant is just hide. If it sounds super slow, then it's a Revenant. Okay, as soon as it sees me, speeds up. See that? And then what I tend to do with a Revenant is if I'm hearing it super slow, I just check for sure by standing up and see it instantly speed up. And how Revenants work is, and I think this applies to pretty much all ghosts, but how these ghost hunts work is the ghost will, where it senses you, it will sprint. The Revenant will sprint straight to where it sensed you. And then when it gets there, like, let's say the Revenant sprints to here, for example, because it sensed me here, it will then, imagine it stops, and it does a 360 look around to see if it senses you again. And if it doesn't, obviously it doesn't actually, this all happens in 0 seconds, it will then slow down again and just start wandering super slowly again. So let's say I am the Revenant, right? And there's a player right there. It sees me, it will sprint really fast, way faster than how I'm walking right now. And then if the player's just gone, like let's say hidden over there, it will then stop where I was, or where it last saw me. And then it will do like a look around, and then it will just start walking super slowly again until it senses me again. So yeah, turn off electronics, don't speak, and don't be seen. And then it's super obvious. Revenants are super obvious in hunts. They're the only ghost that's super slow like that, which apart from like a Dio can be super slow, but that's only when it's next to you. So we'll get onto that later. Shades. I don't like shades. Shades are super boring. They're the most boring ghost in the game. A shade is known to be very shy. Bless him or her. There is evidence to suggest that a shade will stop all paranormal activity if there are people nearby. Strength. Shades are much harder to find. Weakness. The ghost will not enter a hunt if there are people nearby. So, how this works, shades. Now, honestly, the best way I work out a shade, I mean, I guess we'll get into that in a second. Let's go through the 3 main points. It is normal speed, 1.7 meters per second. It has line of sight speed, so it will slowly build up speed. And it hunts not at 50% sanity, it hunts at 30 to 35% sanity, I believe. So basically, if you, the best way I work out a shade is if I stand in the room for ages, I turn off the light and it's still not doing anything and there's like no interactions, it's probably going to be a shade. Like if you stare for ages and nothing's happening and you definitely know you're in the room because let's say your motion sensor's going off, then it's probably going to be a shade. However, there are a few telltale signs. So if you have a summoning circle, which I don't know if we're going to have right now, I guess we'll have a look. No, we don't have a summoning circle. So if you have a summoning circle and you do like the whole summoning circle, it will show as a shadow, not the actual not the actual ghost, full ghost model. It will show as a shadow model instead. So that's one way to tell for a shade. I think every other ghost will always show an actual model, whereas a shade will show a shadow instead. The other thing is the ghost, I believe, will not interact with anything in the room. Now, I'm not super sure about this because, and this can be a bit deceiving, it technically shouldn't interact with anything in the room. However, ghosts have this thing, right? When a ghost is in a room, it's actually in the room somewhere at any moment. It's not just the whole room where the ghost is. It's in a point in a room. Like the ghost might just be wandering around the room. Like it might be happening right now in this room and I wouldn't know. The ghost is at a certain point in the room at all times, unless it wanders out of the room, which we're about to get onto. So shades will change rooms like all other ghosts, apart from banshees and goryos. However, what a shade can do is, let's say, because a lot of people are like, right, well, it blew out the firelight in the room, it can't be a shade. Well, ghosts have a range on them where they can interact. So you could have a ghost here, let's say, standing here, and it can interact with like a plate like there. If something, so let's say you've got firelights in this room and they go out, it could technically be a shade, even though the shade is technically in that room with you, because it might wander over here and then blow them out outside of the room. So shades can interact in the room where they're in, but only if they wander outside of the room to do it, if that makes sense. But other than that, they won't do it in the room. They also, this is another thing about shade, and this is how I rule out shades really early as well, they will not do a ghost event in the room with you. So by a ghost event, I obviously mean like it might stand there and do the little shaky thing, or might just do the fake walking towards you in the room. If you're standing in the room, the ghost favorite room, it cannot do a ghost event. However, if I'm standing here, let's say that's the room and I'm standing here and it does a ghost event, that means it could still technically be a shade. Now, the other thing about ghost events with shades is they are almost always, and I don't know whether they're, I think it's there's a chance that they can't be, but I think it's almost always a shadow in an event as well. So let's say you get a walking event here where the ghost walks towards you, it will probably be a shadow 90% of the time. It will be a shadow. Now, one way to also test a shade I like to do is leave the room. Let's say the ghost is in the room there. I might leave the room, and if I've been standing in the room, right, for ages and nothing's happened, and I leave the room, and then suddenly it like interacts after like 5 minutes of waiting, now it starts interacting in the room. That's another telltale sign of a shade. And then, to be honest honestly, shades are just boring. They're shy, they don't really do anything, and if I'm standing in the room and I know it's the room because the temperature is so low in there and it does nothing for ages, I often just go, right, it's got to be a shade. This is getting ridiculous now. Now, this does sometimes catch me out and it's just a really passive other ghost, but yeah, that's a telltale sign. If it hunts you, it also can't hunt you in the room. That's the other thing. So it can't event you in the room, but also can't hunt you in the room either. So if you're standing in the room with it, it will not hunt you when you're in the room. But as soon as you leave and then it hunts you, because you're at low sanity, below 35% sanity, and then it hunts you as soon as you walk out. Then you're like, right, this might be a shade then. So if you've got a crucifix down in the room with and you're in the room with it, and the crucifix goes off, then you're like, right, it's not a shade. It just hunted in the room with me. However, do be careful, because if it did switch rooms and you got a crucifix here and the range goes into that room, then the shade spawns here, then obviously the crucifix might go off. So you've got to be careful in that sense. But that's a shade. Super boring. Right, and now we're going from one extreme to the other. We got a demon. A lot of people hate demons. Demons are the most aggressive ghosts we've ever encountered. Known to attack without reason, they seem to enjoy the thrill of the hunt. Strengths. Demons will initiate hunts more often than other ghosts. Weaknesses. Demons fear the crucifix and will be less aggressive near one. So, demons are the same as Spirit, Wraith, Phantom, Polties in terms of they are normal speed, 1.7 meters per second, and they have line of sight speed. So if a ghost is normal speed and has line of sight speed, then it can still maybe be the other normal boring ghost. No, not boring, but the normal ghost. However, hunt-wise, demons can technically use their ability, which is being able to hunt at any sanity, but they're more likely to hunt at around 70% sanity. So let's just get my notes up for this. So their ability is to hunt above 70% sanity, but they can hunt at 70% and lower. So yeah, demons, if you walk into the house and you instantly get hunted and you started at 100% sanity and the ghost is instantly hunting you and is normal speeds, you know it's a demon. Now, the reason why I give those points is because there's one other ghost that can hunt you at 75% sanity, which we'll get onto later. In fact, it's the last ghost we'll be talking about, Thaye. But they are very different in hunt. They're super fast, but we'll get into that later. So yeah, a demon basically has an ability where it will hunt you at any sanity, but it's most likely to hunt you from 70% sanity and lower. Now, a few ways to work out demon as well. So obviously they are pretty active. Well, they can be. I've had some pretty passive demons before, but they're generally pretty active. Now, when you have a crucifix, so this actually does mean something here. When you have a crucifix down, so let's say I've got a crucifix here, and if I hold my place button, you can see the range of the crucifix. Let's say the crucifix range is like literally not going into demons in this room. However, the crucifix range is ending just here, like in the like range here. If the crucifix goes off when you know the ghost is in this room, but the range isn't even in that room of the crucifix, then that could be a demon, because crucifixes have an extra, let me get this correct, they have an extra 50% range. Now, I thought that it was like 2 meters more, but basically the crucifix has a larger range. So if I place a crucifix right in this corner and the range ends just before this room starts, yet the demon's in this room, yet the crucifix goes off, and that, by the way, applies if there's no events in the room you're standing in with the crucifix, because an event means the ghost is, let's say you can get evented anywhere, right, in a building. Let's say you're in this room and you get a ghost event right there, the ghost gets all scary right there, then the ghost is technically there, and then the crucifix could go off. However, if you've got no events, nothing's happening, and then the crucifix goes off, but you're like, wait, hang on a second, the range ended here and the crucifix went off, that must mean that it's got extra range. So maybe the range was another 2 meters wider. So that's one way to tell a demon. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think it's ever really like it kind of has worked for me before, maybe twice, but honestly I don't really, the demon test is hard. Demons are one of the more tricky ghosts to get. Demons and mares so far are pretty hard ghosts to identify when it comes down to ruling out ghosts. But that is a way to tell a demon. Obviously, if it hunts you straight away or it hunts you at really high sanity, then and it's normal speed, then you can say it's a demon. But the chance of it's doing its ability is obviously a chance. It might not. The other thing you could do obviously is pop lots of sanity pills and see if it hunts you, even though you're at high sanity. But yeah, the Cruci test is a thing. I haven't really ever used it to, it's a way to maybe work out if it's a demon or not, but it isn't 100%. Like, the ghost might roam maybe a little bit out of the room, so you just got to be careful with the crucifix test. But yeah, that's basically everything there is to do with a demon. Oh, actually no, there's one other thing you should know, which is a really important way of finding a demon. If the ghost is hunting you, or let's say I'm in the ghost room with it, and the best way to do it is when it's hunting you. If you use an incense, the demon is the only ghost that can hunt after between 1 minute and 1 minute 30 seconds. All ghosts have to hunt after 1 minute 30, including, by the way, a spirit, but that's 3 minutes for a spirit. Hello. Hello there, sir. Goodbye. Yeah, demons, if you incense a demon, as soon as you click that incense, start a timer, and if it hunts you between 1 minute and 1 minute and 30 seconds, then, which is only something a demon can do, then it is a demon. So you start the smudge timer. Oh my gosh, hello. It's getting a little bit angry here. So the ghost is technically, by the way, right there right now. So after 6 seconds, it will walk back to its room, wherever the room is. So yeah, that's basically a way to work out a demon. So 1 minute, if it hunts under 1 minute and 30 seconds. Also, one other way of doing it, which I never really use, but I guess is useful to know. If the crucifix goes off, or if you get hunted, for example, best way to do it is with a crucifix though. If you get hunted, as soon as the crucifix goes off, start a timer, and demons can hunt with between 20 and 25 seconds, whereas normal ghosts, it's after 25 seconds. So you've got like a 5 second, it's really hard to get that, but a demon can hunt before 25 seconds, whereas normal ghosts have to hunt after 25 seconds, and that applies to all ghosts. So demon's the only ghost that can hunt under 25 seconds, but it's only between 20 and 25, so you've got to be on it with your timer to get that. So yeah, that's a demon. Next we have a Yurei. Potentially the worst ghost in the game. Super hard to get, really annoying. So a Yurei is a ghost that has returned to the physical world, usually for the purpose of revenge or hatred. Doesn't mean anything. Strength. Yureis have been known to have a strong effect on people's sanity. Weakness. I don't even know. Wait, what does that even mean? Actually, I do know what that means, but honestly, don't even... We'll get into that. Weakness. Smudging the Yurei's place of death will trap it temporarily, reducing how much it wanders. Right, Yurei's are one of the hardest ghosts to work out. So, Yurei's are exactly the same as the first ghost we mentioned. So they have normal speed of 1.7 meters per second. They have line of sight speed, so they slowly build up faster and faster if they can sense you. And 3, they hunt between 50 and 55% sanity. Now, Yurei's, you will always see me hate getting Yurei's, but Yurei's are this is really rare to happen, but Yurei's are the only ghosts that can interact with the front door of the house, so the door you walk in outside of an event or a hunt. So Yurei's can close the front door outside of an event or a hunt. No other ghost can do that. However, they have an ability where they can fully close a door, and it's the only ghost in the game that can fully close a door. Now, again, this is all up to luck getting this. However, if you're standing near a door or you're just listening out, a Yurei does something called a double door touch, where it can touch the door twice, and then if you hear the door sound and then you hear a slam, that sound, then you know it's a Yurei. If you didn't do it, you know it's a Yurei. Yurei is the only ghost that can fully close doors, and that's their ability. Definitely not a shade either. We got a Yurei ability in front of our eyes. Now, when they do that, it's useful to know they actually drain 15% of your sanity to any nearby players. So yeah, that's one way of working out Yurei, but again, that's complete pure luck. If it closes the front door, if it fully closes any other doors. Also, as well, as you can see, lots of doors are being opened right now, so you might consider it being a Yurei, because they do like touching doors a bit more than other ghosts. Let's turn this off again. This is going to be annoying. Yeah, Yurei's do like touching doors more than other ghosts, so that's another thing to consider. But honestly, any ghost can touch doors loads, so I really wouldn't use that as a, oh yeah, this is a Yurei kind of thing. Let's go back to Yurei. Now, the other thing you can do, which is technically a Yurei test, right, is, let's say the ghost is in the garage, right? What you can do, let's grab the motion sensor. What you can do is put a motion sensor outside of the room where the Yurei's in, and if you smudge the Yurei, it temporarily traps the Yurei in the room. So the Yurei can't leave its room for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Now, when I say it can't leave the room, it can't roam out of the room. However, and this is something which is really stupid, and I think the devs should change, it can event outside of its room. So let's say you're standing here and then suddenly it does a ghost event after you've smudged it in the room, then it actually will set off the motion sensor because it will roam back to the room after the event. Oh gosh, okay. Like it just did just then. Hello. It can actually set off the motion sensor to run back to the room. So, and honestly, the ghost that you're trying to identify might just not roam. in that 1 minute and 30-second timer you started after you smudged it. So, okay, right, the breaker just went off. Let's turn that back on. So yeah, Yureis in general are really hard to identify. Not really much to them. They've obviously got their door ability, which is the thing. By the way, we know it's not a Jinn. You know, earlier we said that it can't turn off the breaker, so we know it's not a Jinn right now. Turn off the breaker. So yeah, it is really annoying getting a Yurei. They're one of my least, if not my least favorite ghost. The smudging test is pretty rubbish. It's like a last... Honestly, a smudging test is like a make or break scenario at the end where you're like, oh my gosh, it could be a Mare, it could be a Yurei, it could be a demon. Let me just do a Yurei test and waste an incense and see if it doesn't leave the room. And then even the only way to really know if it's not a Yurei, if it's a Yurei or not in that situation, is if it does roam out the room without an event. But obviously there's a bit of a range on this thing, so you need to make sure that you don't put it too close to the room. If it does go off, then you can be like, right, it's not a Yurei, but honestly, it's a desperate test, I'd say. And that's basically it for Yureis. So it's a bit of pot luck if you get a Yurei ability or anything. Right, Onis are interesting. Onis, like all the other ghosts so far, Onis have normal speed of 1.7 meters per second. They have line of sight, so they will slowly get faster and faster. And they hunt between 50 and 55% sanity. So like the Spirit, the Wraith, the Phantom, they have exactly the same thing. And a Mare. Actually, no. Mares can hunt at different sanities, I guess. But yeah, Onis are like a baseline normal ghosts. So Onis love to scare the victim as much as possible before attacking. They are often seen in their physical form, guarding their place of death. So, strength. Onis are more active whilst people are nearby. What on earth was that? Turn off. Oh, let's turn off the breaker again. Onis are more active whilst people are nearby and will drain their sanity faster while manifesting. That's actually true. One way to tell an Oni is it does a lot of events. It really tries to drain your sanity. Onis disappear less often while hunting their prey, so we'll get onto that in a second. But one of the biggest telltale signs for Onis is they tend to do a lot of ghost events early game. And basically, if they do a ghost event where they actually hit you, you won't lose 10% sanity, which normally happens when you get ghost evented. You lose 20% sanity. So you lose double the amount of sanity than you do with other ghosts. So if, let's say, someone's in the van and they're like, oh my god, I got ghost evented. If you look at their sanity and their sanity's dropped by 20% instead of the normal 10%, then you could be like, right, that might be an Oni. However, if you're playing on your own, there's better ways to identify an Oni. So obviously it is really active in that way. It does a lot of ghost events early game. It really tries to drain your sanity as much as possible. There's two main ways to work out an Oni. One, an airball event. So all ghosts can do something called an airball event, which is a type of ghost event where where this ball will float towards you and then it will do a sound. That's an Oni event. Definitely not an Oni then. If that happens, it's something an Oni cannot do. So you can rule out an Oni. So as soon as you see that little airball float towards you, and it has to be an airball, it can't just be that sound. You have to see the airball or hear no steps, because there's another ghost event where it's a shadow event where you can just hear footsteps and then it goes, it does the same sound. But if there's no footsteps, oh my gosh, hello. If there's no footsteps and you just see this airball, or you don't hear any footsteps and you hear the sound, then it's probably the airball event and you can then rule out an Oni. But it has to be the airball. That's super important. A lot of people are like, oh, I heard the sound, it's an Oni. But no, there were footsteps coming towards me first. It was a different type of event. Has to be an airball, and obviously there's an example to show you here. And then if you don't get any of that, this is the guaranteed way of getting an Oni as well. In a hunt, Onis are more visible. Now, unless you're looking for it, you won't spot it. But Onis are super, super visible during hunts. Like, you will see, they blink a lot more often. Like, you'll see them just way more than normal ghosts. Normally, ghosts blink. They're normally slightly less visible than visible in a hunt. Onis are more visible than invisible in hunts. Probably not an Obake. That's an Oni. That's an Oni, super visible. So that's the main way I found out an Oni. And that's pretty much everything there is to know about Onis. So let's move on to the next one. We're finally We're on to the next page. I hope I'm not waffling too much. I'm trying to give you all the important information. Yokais. Yokais are common ghosts that are attracted to human voices. They can usually be found haunting family homes. Strength. The yokai, talking near a yokai will anger it, increasing the chance of an attack. Weakness. When hunting a yokai, can only hear voices close to it. So, yokais are the dumb ghost. Everyone calls yokais the dumb ghost. Again, like an oni, like all the other ghosts we've been looking at today. Normal speed, 1.7 meters per second. Line of sight speed. So, like a spirit and all the other ghosts, same normal speed, line of sight speed. However, they do normally hunt at 50% sanity, 50 to 55% sanity like other ghosts. However, if you speak to the ghost in the room that it's in, then it does have a chance of spawning when you're at 80% sanity and hunting you. So that can happen. When you're playing on like no evidence mode, for example, that like almost never applies because you never really speak to the ghosts because you don't need to use a spirit box. But when you're on nightmare insanity and you're using a spirit box, the yokai could spawn when you're on high sanity, and then you could be like, hang on, this might be a yokai. So that's one way of working out yokai. I can't lie, I almost never use that method. So the best way to find out a yokai is in a hunt. So yokais can only hear voices and sense electronics from 2.5 meters away. Now that's literally just like this far away, basically like that distance away. Like from me to that line there. So they can only hear or sense you from that far. So what you'll often see me do, if I see the yokai in a hunt wandering down here and I'm sitting in the corner here and I'm out of line of sight so it can't see me, if I like hold my radio button, my global push to talk button, or spam it, and then have, let's say, my torch on at the same time and it doesn't wander to me, the only ghost that wouldn't wander to me in that situation is a yokai. So you can be like, right, that's a yokai, it didn't wander to me. And you can maybe do that maybe for a couple of hunts and see if it still doesn't wander to you. Remember, it has a possibility of wandering to you anyway, just out of chance. So the best way is to test it maybe a few times. If it does wander to you, maybe test it again later on. But if the ghost is standing right there, right now, then if I'm spamming my global push to talk button, which means the ghost can hear me, or I've got a torch on and it's not roaming to me, not running straight to my position, then it's a yokai. All other ghosts will wander to you. They will be able to sense you other than a yokai. So that's a good way of working out yokai. That's pretty much everything there is to know, I believe. Let me check my notes. That's literally it. So next we have a Hantu. I do enjoy getting Hantus. They're a bit more interesting. Now there are only two ghosts that can change their speed without anything to do with line of sight. And sensing where you are, and that is a Hantu and a Raiju, which we're getting onto Raiju later. But Hantu is a rare ghost that thrives in the coldest climates. The cold seems to make them more aggressive and empowered. Strength. Lower temperatures allow the Hantu to move at faster speeds, and weakness, Hantus will move slower and warmer areas. So, right, this is interesting. So this is quite different to what we've seen so far. So they do hunt at 50% sanity. However, the difference with a Hantu is they are a little bit slower than normal ghosts in warm rooms, and then they're faster in cold rooms. So they're 1.4 meters per second in a warm room, and they are 2.7 meters per second in a cold room. However, they speed up like quite gradually in the cold room. I mean, when I say quite gradually, it's actually quite fast. They go from slow to fast relatively quickly. It's not like an instant thing. Like it will walk into the cold and then go from maybe bang, 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 like that fast kind of thing. So yeah, they are faster, 2.7 meters per second, so a whole meter per second faster than normal ghosts in cold rooms. Now, this is the first ghost, by the way, that has something called a forced evidence. So no matter what game modes you're playing on, professional, intermediate, amateur, nightmare, or insanity, and this really only applies to nightmare and insanity, is it will always show freezing temperatures evidence every single time. So if you're playing on insanity mode, when you only get one evidence, it will always hide these two evidences and always show freezing temps. So if you get freezing temps, you can be like, right, it can be a Hantu, obviously. However, if you are in insanity mode and you get, let's say, ultraviolet, then you can say it's not a Hantu because it has to show freezing temps and only get one evidence, so it can't be a Hantu. So yeah, there's going to be a few ghosts. This is the first ghost with forced evidence that we've seen so far. So yeah, Hantu has to show freezing temps at all times. So that's super important. And yeah, the best way to work out a Hantu obviously is to, let's say the ghost, right, is, hello ghost man, you're getting a little bit angry. Hello. Let's say the ghost is in this room, and you stand over here, and then it starts hunting you. If you hear it super fast in that room and then it slows down when it gets into the room that you're in that isn't the ghost room, then you can be like, right, this might be a Hantu. Now, the only other ghost that you might mix up here is a Raiju, which we'll get into later on, but that's got nothing to do with temperatures. That's something else. So yeah, Hantu will be super fast in the room that is cold, and every other room where it's warmer, it will be slower. So that's the best way of working out Hantu. It's basically in a hunt. Best way. Oh my gosh, not again. And that is pretty much, unless there's... Oh yeah, there's one other thing that you can do to work out a Hantu, of course. How could I forget? There's one other way you can work out a Hantu. In fact, a couple of other ways. So Hantus... And I can't believe I forgot to mention this. So Hantus will never turn on the breaker. Now, I'm not going to lie. It's very rare that a ghost has ever turned on the breaker for me. But Hantus cannot turn on the breaker. And that is because they like cold temperature. And turning on the breaker warms up the house. So they will never turn on the breaker. So if your breaker turns on, you can be like, not a Hantu. I don't think that I've ever actually used that. But it is, I guess, a useful thing to know. If the breaker turns on, it can't be a Hantu. And the other thing you can do to work out Hantu, if you're really desperate and you don't know whether it's a Hantu or not, you can turn off the breaker, or if the breaker's off, have the breaker off anyway. And in a hunt, a Hantu will show cold breath in a hunt, and it's about every like 2 seconds. You'll see a little bit of like cold cloud coming out of the ghost's mouth in the hunt. Yeah, there you go. There's the Hantu breath. You see that? So that's another way of finding out a Hantu. I don't really ever use that though. I usually just use the changing speeds without line of sight. So yeah, basically in premise, that's the way to work out a Hantu. So it'll be slow it'll be fast in the cold room that it spawns in. So sometimes I use like a parabolic microphone and I sit far away, and if I hear it really fast from when it's in the room and then I hear it slow down without it knowing where I am, then I'm like, right, it's got to be a Hantu. Or it could be a Raiju if there's electronic equipment, but we'll get into that later. So yeah, that's basically a way to work out Hantu. Fast and cold, slow and warm, and can't turn on the breaker, and will show breath if the breaker is off, but it won't show the breath if the breaker's on. So that's quite important to know. Next, we have a Goryo. So let's read up a Goryo. So when a Goryo passes through a dots projector, using a video camera is the only way to see it. That is true. Strength. Goryo will usually only show itself on camera if there are no people nearby. Weakness. They're rarely seen far from the place of death. So, Goryos are completely normal in every way. So they've got 1.7 meters per second speed, line of sight speed, and they hunt at 50 to 54% sanity. Now, this is the second ghost we found so far, which has forced evidence. So, Goryos will always show dots. Now, unfortunately, with Goryos, it's a lot harder to see the dots projector with Goryos. So, this was correct. You can only see Goryos through a camera on dots. So if the Goryo is, let's say you're playing on like Nightmare Insanity mode, it has to show dots no matter what. So if you're doing all your evidences and you haven't got dots yet, and you've tried Spirit Box, you've tried freezing temps, nothing's showing up. You've got a dots down as well, and that's not even showing up. I tend to be like, right, hang on, this could be a Goryo. So what I'll do is I'll maybe hold a video camera in my hand, and I'll have the dots in the room, shining in the room. And if I see the ghost in the camera walking through the dots and not in person, then I'm like, right, that's a Goryo. I know it's dots evidence. We've seen it. Boom. There you go. And that is a Goryo, boys and girls. But if for example, it's quite hard to get sometimes. So if I'm standing in the room for ages, I've tried all the evidences and nothing's showing up, I might set up a camera, go back to the van after standing in the room for like, what, 10 minutes, and I've still not seen any dots yet. Go back to the van, I see it in the camera, I'm like, right, this might be a Goryo. Now, Goryo is one of the two ghosts. We've already seen a Banshee where I said it can't change rooms. Goryo and Banshees are the only ghosts that can't change rooms. So this ghost will never change favorite rooms. It very rarely roams very far from its room either. So if I'm playing no evidence, for example, and like the likelihood of it changing rooms after like 20 minutes is very high. Like, it probably would have changed rooms by then. If it's still not changed rooms, I'm in my head, right, this could be a Banshee or a Goryo. However, obviously, we've already shown you the way to test for Banshees with the parabolic microphone and the motion sensors for it roaming to and from you. If you've got none of that, then I'm like, right, this is probably a Goryo. Because on no evidence, that's the only way to work out a Goryo. It's to basically just see if it changes rooms. And if it doesn't, then it's probably a Banshee or a Goryo. And if it doesn't act like a Banshee, then it's a Goryo. That's how I work out Goryos. But if you're with evidence, then yeah, it will only show up on dots on camera, and it won't show up on dots in person. It will always show dots per projector. So if you get EMF level 5, even though it is an evidence of a Goryo and you're on insanity mode, where you only get one evidence, then you can be like, right, it's not a Goryo because it didn't show dots and we only get one evidence. So it has to be, it can't be a Goryo. So yeah, that's another ghost with forced evidence. We now have a Myling. Now Mylings are normal, so they've got normal speed, 1.7 meters per second. They've got line of sight, so they'll slowly get faster and faster. If they know where you are, can sense you, can see you, and they hunt at 50 to 55% sanity. A Myling is a very vocal and active ghost. They are rumored to be quiet when hunting their prey. Strength, a Myling is known to be quieter when hunting. Weakness, Mylings more frequently make paranormal sounds. Now, the best way I work out Myling, is by the sound in a hunt. So, in a hunt, footsteps can be heard at 12 meters instead of 20 meters with Mylings. So, let's say the ghost is spawning in the room over there, and I'm standing all the way over here. And I know it's hunting me, and I'm hearing things that get chucked and stuff, but I can't hear any footsteps. That's the most important thing, footsteps. Then I might be like, hang on, this might be a Myling. And now, technically, it's meant to be more vocal on a parabolic microphone, but I can't lie, I never use that. I basically just work out Mylings by their sound. So Mylings are quieter when they're hunting. It's very easy to mix this up. So they are normal, like, loudness when they're within 12 meters. However, when they're further than that, you won't even hear them at all. So you just need to make sure the ghost is quite far away from you, and make sure you're just listening with your ears. And if it sounds like you can't even hear it, but you're hearing things be chucked around and you're maybe hearing its breath, but you're not hearing footsteps, then it's probably a Myling. And that's basically how I work out Mylings, because they're normal. That you could mistake them for spirits, mares, etc., because everything else is pretty much normal about them. So yeah, that's a Myling. That's all you really need to know, to be fair. Don't think there's anything else. No. Right. The Onryo. Sorry, I meant Onryo. We call it an Onryo in our stream. The Onryo, I'm going to keep saying that, I'm sorry, is often referred to as the Wraithful Spirit. It steals souls from dying victims' bodies to seek revenge. This is just word salad. The ghost has been known to fear of any form of fire. Now, this is true, and will do anything to be far from it. Strength, extinguishing a flame can cause an Onryo to attack. Weakness, when threatened, this ghost will be less likely to hunt. So, Onryos are normal. So they have normal speed, 1.7 meters per second. They have a line of sight. However, this is the caveat with Onryos. They normally hunt at 50 to 55% sanity. However, the way you can work out Onryos, which is basically the only way to work out Onryos, is to do a Onryo test. So to do an Onryo test is very simple. What I do is I place a crucifix in the room, and then let's say in the middle of the room, I place 3 firelights, and you don't have to use 3, but I'll explain it. I always place 3 firelights around the crucifix, put them all on, and then I wait. Now, an Onryo will always attack you when it blows out 3 firelights. Now, you don't have to have 3 firelights. You can have 1 firelight and keep relighting it. As soon as the 3rd one goes off, it will hunt you within 6 seconds. Really important. So if I'm testing for an Onryo, this is always what I do. I set up the crucifix, I get the 3 firelights there, and there, and then I sit and I wait. I sit and I wait. Blows out a firelight, maybe get a picture of it for money, blows out another firelight, and then as soon as that 3rd one goes off, I start a timer. So you'll see me on my stream. I don't have the timer on me right now, but I will start a timer and I'll leave it for 6 seconds. If the crucifix goes off in that time, then it is more than likely an Onryo. However, I really recommend doing this. If you are going to do an Onryo test, do it when you're on high sanity, because I've had this happen before. 3 firelights might go off, and then the ghost might just hunt you because you're below 55% sanity. It might just decide to hunt you at that moment. So the best way to test for an Onryo is to set up your cruci, set up your firelights, and make sure you do it early game when you have good sanity, and just sit and wait. And if it hunts you after those 3 go off, it's usually instant, but it can be up to 6 seconds. Then you can be like, right, that's probably an Onryo. You can always do the test again. You can relight all the 3 firelights and do the test again. Now, this is important as well. An Onryo will always prioritize a firelight over a crucifix. So bringing a firelight in for an Onryo is almost like bringing in another crucifix. So if you put a firelight down, the ghost will not hunt you until all the firelights are out in the area. So if the ghost hunts you, let's say you haven't got a crucifix and you've got a firelight down, if the ghost hunts you in the room with you while the firelight's there, then you can be like, right, that's not an Onryo, because the Onryo would have to have blown out the firelight first. And that applies, so if the crucifix goes off and there's still a firelight lit, then it can't be an Onryo either. I keep saying Onryo. That's it's not what it's called. It's an Oreo. It can't be an Oreo either. So yeah, that's basically the only way to really work out an Oreo. That's when threatened, this ghost will be less likely to hunt. I don't even know what that means. Does that mean anything? Oh yeah, and apparently it's more likely as well to blow out a firelight than other ghosts. But to be honest, that doesn't really mean anything. The other important thing, which I don't know whether I fully stated this, it can hunt you at any sanity. Any sanity, so that includes 100%, as long as it has to hunt you at any sanity. As long as it blows out 3 firelights, it has to hunt you, no matter what. It will hunt you. Now, you got to just make sure your crucifix and your firelights are in the same spot. If you've got, like, the crucifix there and your firelight's there, then the crucifix might not be covering the range. Like, let's say your crucifix is on that bit of the chair, and then your firelights are here, and the ghost is in this room, and the crucifix range ends here, then it might hunt in the room from here. So you got to make sure the crucifix is kind of bunched between the firelights. That's important. Next, we have the twins. The twins are interesting, and I find them really hard to get sometimes. So these ghosts have been reported to mimic each other's actions. They alternate their attacks to confuse their prey. Strength, either twin can be angered and initiate attack on their prey. The twins will often interact with the environment at the same time. So, right, twins. So they have normal line of sight. They hunt at 50 to 55% sanity. However, they have different speeds. So a slow twin has a speed of 1.53 meters per second instead of 1.7. Now, that's not a huge difference, so it will sound slower, but you've got to be really listening. Like, you've got to play the game to understand the speed in order to get this. So, yeah, they will be slightly slower. Or the fast twin, so there's a slow and a fast twin. The fast twin will be a bit faster. It'll be 1.87 meters per second instead of 1.7. Now, that's only 0.17 meters per second faster, so it's not much. And it's sometimes really hard to tell. It's just a slight amount faster or slower. So, yeah, that's one way I work out twins, to be honest. I wait for a hunt, and if it's a bit slower, I'm like, hang on. This ghost seems a bit slower than normal, or it seems a tiny bit faster than normal. I'll be like, right, this might be twins. However, there are other things you must know about twins. Oh, yes. So it can do 2 interactions at the same time. So let's say you're in a room and this painting flies there, and at the exact same time, this plate flies over there. I mean, obviously, it could be a poltergeist, but obviously the items have to be close together for the polty-pile to explode. But if it's 2 items, let's say even a door opens and this plate flies at the same time, then you might be like, hang on, this could be twins. Again, I would wait for a hunt just to confirm the speeds. Now, the different speeds, by the way, you have a 50% chance of getting the slow twin and a 50% chance of getting the fast twin. So this is important. It could be that you get the slow twin 3 hunts in a row. Like, that could just happen. Or you might get the fast twin 3 hunts in a row. Or you might get fast twin, slow twin, fast twin, slow twin, slow twin. It's a 50% chance every hunt of which ghost you get. In terms of hunts, it doesn't just alternate. It can be slow, 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 fast, fast, slow, slow, fast, slow, fast. If you get what I mean. You've got a 50% chance of getting either. So that's how it works. Now, basically, I think this is how it works, right? So if you hear an item get thrown from another room really far away, then that you might also think that could be a twin. If you're standing in the room where you think the ghost is and it's getting really low temps, and then you hear an item like over in this room over here get chucked, like you hear like that happen in this room, you might be like, hang on, is this twins? Because basically the fake twin or the second twin even has this range where it can chuck anything in quite a large range. I think it's like a 8-meter range, which is a really big range in a small map like this especially. That's like from the fridge to maybe even here. So let's say it just picks like 1 point on the map, and then within that range, it can chuck anything. So again, like I said, it might pick this point, and then it will chuck something in this room because it's within the range of the other twin. So if you hear something get chucked in another room, you might consider that's twins, but you also should check that it hasn't changed rooms. Or if it does throw something next to you and you know the ghost is over there, it could be like a Banshee or something roaming to you and then chucking something. So you got to be aware. But again, the best way to work out twins is in a hunt for the speeds. And remember, and this is the annoying thing, I wish they changed this, but twins have line of sight speed. So if it seems quite slow, as soon as you look at it, it will start speeding up and then it will start going normal speed and then it will start getting faster. And so the best way to work out twins is to like hide, listen for the hunt, and if you're constantly hearing it's quite slower than normal and it's not changing speed or anything, then as long as it doesn't sense you, of course, then you might be like, hang on, this might be the slow twin. Or vice versa, if you're hearing it seems a bit faster than normal without line of sight, then you might be like, it might be the fast twin. So that's twins, and I'm pretty sure that's everything you kind of need to know. Apparently they have a larger extended range on large maps, so instead of 8 meters on small maps, which I just showed you, it can be 16 meters on medium to large maps. But yeah, it's basically that. Next we have a Raiju. So Raijus and Hantus are very hard sometimes to work out between. So a Raiju is a demon that thrives on electrical currents. While generally calm, they can become agitated and when overwhelmed with power. Strength. A Raiju can siphon power from nearby electrical devices, making it move faster. Weakness. Raijus are constantly disrupting electronic equipment when attacking, making it easier to track. So they are normal speeds, but there's going to be a caveat to this we'll get to in a second. They have line of sight only when there's no electronics nearby, and they hunt at 50% sanity like normal ghosts. However, they can hunt at 65% sanity when there's lots of electronics near it in the room. So let's get into this. There's quite a bit to know about Raiju. I like getting Raijus. They're quite interesting. This is one thing I want to say. So Raijus like electronical equipment. This doesn't apply to anything in the map. This doesn't apply to lights. This doesn't apply to TVs. This doesn't apply to lamps. This doesn't apply to anything like or phone or anything like that. That doesn't apply to that. It applies to electric equipment you bring in. So Raijus will be faster when there's electronics nearby. Now, this is where it can be a bit deceiving. The electronics have quite a range on them. So normally a Raiju is 1.7 meters per second. As soon as it's near electronics, it goes to 2.5 meters per second, which is quite fast. So let's say the ghost spawns in this room and I'm over here and I've got a camera here on the ground and no other electronics are nearby. That's all I've brought in, a camera, and it's there. If the ghost is, so let's say I'm hiding here. If I hear the ghost and it's normal speed, and then it gets to here, near the camera, and by the way, the range on the electronics is quite large. I think it's like 4 meters. I don't actually have it written down, but it's quite a large range. This is where it can be a bit deceiving. So your camera could be like here, and it will still affect the ghost here. Kind of thing. But yeah, if you hear the ghost super slow, and then it goes near your camera, and then suddenly it speeds up without seeing you, then you might be like, hang on, this is a Raiju, right? I mean, obviously, there's a chance it could be a Hantu if it's cold in this room, because Hantu speed up. But it's the one of two ghosts. Hantus and Raijus are the only ghosts that can change speeds mid-hunt without any line of sight. So yeah, Raijus are faster around electronics and slower away from electronics. Well, when I say slower, normal speed. Now, when there's no electronics nearby, the Raiju will have slight line of sight speed. So this is where it can be a bit deceiving. Like if you've got you haven't brought anything in, and the ghost is walking around at normal speed, it can slowly speed up, only slightly. But yeah, that's basically the most important way I find Raijus. The other thing is they can technically hunt at higher sanity. I don't know if I've ever really used that, but yeah, they can hunt at higher sanity if you've got lots of electronics in the room. And they also tend to disturb electronics a bit more. Again, this is kind of like a little fanatic kind of, it doesn't really matter kind of thing, where if it keeps like messing with the TV and the lights and everything, then you might be like, hang on, this could be a Raiju. But to be honest, the best way is just do a hunt and see if it's faster around electronics and then slower away from electronics. So yeah, that is pretty much everything you need to know for a Raiju. Now, we are going to an Obake, one of my favorite ghosts to get. easily. So, Obakes are terrifying shapeshifters. In fact, I often say my favorite ghost is a Poltergeist and an Obake. Obakes are terrifying shapeshifters capable of taking on many forms. They have been seen taking on humanoid shapes to attract their prey, which is... humanoid shapes? What does that even mean? Honestly, that doesn't mean anything. It would be cool if they actually looked like a human, but no. They're just ghosts. When interacting with the environment, an Obake will rarely leave a trace. Weakness, sometimes this ghost will shapeshift, leaving behind unique evidence. Now, this is the third ghost that has forced evidence. This always shows UV. No matter what, it will always show you the evidence. So if you're on insanity mode and you've got one evidence, if it shows EMF or ghost orbs, you can rule out an Obake because it has to show UV every single time. It will always show UV if you're on a game mode with evidence. Normal speeds, normal 1.7 meters per second, has line of sight and hunts at 50% sanity, so everything's normal in that sense. Basically, an Obake can leave a 6-finger handprint, which is really cool. It's the only ghost that can leave a unique handprint. It can also leave a unique fingerprint on a light switch, and it can also not leave a UV print at all. It has a 25% chance of not actually leaving a handprint. If you see a 6-finger handprint, basically, or 2 fingers on a light switch, or the other thing it can do is leave, if it shows footprints, I believe it can miss a footprint, then you know it's an Obake. Now, that's one way of working it out. Now, if you're on no evidence, you might be like, right, well, how do I work out an Obake then? So this is where we get onto the next thing. They have been seen taking on humanoid shapes to attract their prey. They shapeshift. So an Obake is a shapeshifter. So in a hunt, if you're getting chased, and this is what you tend to do, if I do an Obake test, I tend to do this. So let's say the ghost is hunting me. Okay, well, we know it's not a Jinn. Nice. Let's say the ghost is hunting me. I might train it around this, and I'll be watching the ghost all times. Now, the ghost has a 6.66% chance of doing something called a shapeshift, where it changes ghost model. It changes ghost model. Normal speed. Oh my gosh! Not again. And it's sometimes really hard to see because it only happens on one blink. However, it happened, honestly, I usually maybe do 2 hunts to determine if it's definitely not an Obake or not. Because if it's 2 hunts and you train it for a good, like, 20 seconds and you don't see any sort of shapeshift, then you're probably like, hang on, this is probably not an Obake. We probably would have seen a shapeshift by now. One thing you need to be careful of, though, is if you have, let's say, if you are training it around something like this, and it's, like, let's say a female ghost model, so you're getting chased around, and it's like a baby ghost model, like crawling, you might not see it shapeshift, like, or if it's just like even just a standalone lady, you might not see it shapeshift because it might turn into the crawling model, like where somewhere where you can't see it. It might just look like that there was a big gap between flickers, which might make you think it could be a phantom. So that's one thing I would be careful of. But yeah, basically they shapeshift mid-hunt, and it's really cool when you get it. I think it's so cool, like the way they change ghost model. But yeah, you basically just gotta, in this situation when you're playing on no evidence, you need to basically do a training run where you see if it's an Obake or not. If you obviously have ruled out a lot of ghosts, and that's an option. And that's basically the best way I find it. Oh, also it can leave 5 fingerprints on cell doors. I've actually never seen that happen, but that it can leave 5 fingerprints on cell doors. So yeah, that's an Obake. Now we're getting to a very interesting ghost, and we're nearly at the end actually. A Mimic. A Mimic is an elusive, mysterious copycat ghost that mirrors traits and behaviors from others, including other ghost types. Strength. We're unsure what this ghost is capable of. Be careful. Weakness. Several reports have noted ghost orbs and sightings near Mimics. Now, if you're playing on no evidence, you're not meant to get any evidence, right? You're not meant to see anything. However, if you see ghost orbs, you know it's a Mimic instantly, because the ghost orbs that they show are fake orbs. So now, I would talk, obviously, about the speed of the ghost, the line of sight, and the hunt percentage, but that doesn't apply to this ghost. This is a really unique ghost, and I think a really cool one as well. In fact, Mimic is the ghost that gets most people, because it mimics every other ghost's ability, not mimics their evidence. That's super important. Yeah, Mimics basically can do any other ghost's hidden abilities, or abilities in general. But it will always show orbs. So if you're playing on professional, intermediate, or amateur, it will actually show Spirit Box, UV, and freezing temps. But it will also show orbs as well. So let's say you're like, hang on, I just got ghost orbs, okay. But then I also just got UV. I also got freezing temps. So it's a Hantu. But then you also get a spirit box reading as well. And you're like, hang on, it's no ghosts. You've got 4 evidences and ghosts can only show 3. So you can be like, right, the ghost orbs were fake. It was a mimic. If you're on 2 evidences, so let's say you get UV and ghost orbs, you'd be like, right, this is Banshee, a Hantu, and Obake. And you're on nightmare mode. So this is nightmare mode where you get 2 evidences. It could technically still be a mimic because it could show spirit box of freezing temps and the ghost orbs aren't actually there, and it could be a mimic. So that's one thing you got to take into account. So a mimic will never show. So sorry, if you get dots, EMF, or ghostwriting, it can't be a mimic. Like, mimics will not show that ever. As you can see from the ghost, it shows spirit box, UV, and freezing temps, and orbs. It will always show orbs. So if you get any other evidences, you can rule out mimic that aren't these 3 orbs. And yeah, basically a mimic will mimic any other ghost. So it could not step and salt. So you might be like, oh my god, this is a wraith. But then you might be like, hang on, let me see if there are any see if there are 4 evidences. Let me just explain this properly. So if you're on 3 evidences, it will show 4. If you're on 2 evidences, it will show 3 evidences. But obviously the orbs are fake in these scenarios. If you're on 1 evidence, it will show 2 evidences. And if you're on no evidences, it will show, obviously, orbs still. Even though there's no evidence, it will show orbs. So, yeah, basically, it's forced orbs evidence. Really important is forced orbs evidence. So, yeah, remember that. And it can change ghost type every, I think it's believed, let me see. It can change the type of ghost it's mimicking every 30 seconds to 2 minutes. So another way to work out a mimic is if you do like 3 hunts and it's been the same type of way every hunt, you could probably be like, right, it's probably not a mimic because it's been like 10 minutes now and it's acted the same way every time. That's basically a mimic. So it can mimic any ability. It could mimic the Banshee scream. It can mimic the Hantu speeding up in a cold room and then slowing down in a warm room. It can mimic, I don't know, like the Revenant super slow, then it sees you super fast. It could be mimicking a shade and not doing anything. It can mimic any of these abilities, not evidences. So it could even mimic a spirit 3-minute smudge timer as well. The only thing it can't mimic, of course, actually, is a Goryo dots, because it can't do dots evidence. So it can't do the Goryo only shows in a camera dots thing. That's literally the only ability it cannot mimic. Other than that, it can mimic everything else, including a Yurei door close as well. The next ghost we have, because I believe that's everything you really need to know about mimic. The next ghost we have is a Moroi. So, I'm getting a little bit hot. Give me a second. So, Morois have risen from the grave to drain energy from the living. They have been known to place curses on their victims, curable only by antidotes or moving very far away. Strength. The weaker the victim becomes, the stronger the Moroi becomes. Weaknesses. Moroi suffer from hypersomnia, meaning weakening them for longer periods. So, Morois are interesting. So, they have line of sight speed. That's the one thing I should mention first. They also only hunt at 55 to 50% sanity and below. Now, the interesting things about Moroi, the speed. So Morois can often seem like shades sometimes at the beginning because they are on high sanity. They don't really do much. So when you first enter the house, you might be like, oh, this seems like a shade or something. But then over time, when your sanity's draining, the lower your sanity, the more active and kind of angry it becomes. So let's say you enter the house, it might not be doing anything, but when you're at 0% sanity, it will probably be being really aggressive. Which other ghosts do as well, so that's not like a telltale sign from Moroi. If the ghost seems to have been super passive at the beginning and then really aggressive, like maybe 5-10 minutes into the game, then you might be like, hang on, this might be a Moroi, especially if you're sitting in the dark and you're losing sanity really fast. Let's talk about more things about Moroi. So Moroi is a ghost that also has a forced evidence. It always will show spirit box. So yeah, again, if you get ghostwriting when you're on insanity mode where you get 1 evidence, then you can rule out a Moroi because it has to show spirit box. If you're on nightmare mode and you get ghostwriting and freezing temperatures, because you get 2 evidences on nightmare mode, you can be like, right, it's not Moroi, it didn't show spirit box when it has to. So one way to work out a Moroi is if you incense a Moroi, it will stun it for longer. So instead of 6 seconds, it will stun a Moroi for 7.5 seconds. So what you can do, which is very little, obviously, so you need to be on it with your timer. But if you're getting hunted and you incense the Moroi, the incense will last on the Moroi, and it's obviously best with tier 3 to work this out because it will stop it in its tracks. But it will stop the Moroi for 7.5 seconds instead of 6. So yeah, if you have a timer on you, you hit your smudge, instantly start your timer. If it stays stunned for 7.5 seconds, then it's a Moroi. In terms of speed, because we haven't actually talked about this yet. So a Moroi at 50% sanity, I believe, only will be at 1.5 meters per second, which is actually slower than normal ghosts, but only at 50 to 55% sanity, I believe. Then when you go below that, it then increases to 2.25 meters per second until you are at, and then I believe at like 0% sanity, it's the fastest ghost in the game. 3.71 meters per second on 0% sanity. And that's when your line of sight build-up's built up as well. So it's super fast if you are like training it, and it's building up its speed faster and faster. When you're on 0% sanity, and it's constantly fast, by the way, because it will be fast whether it can see you or not, but it will speed up even faster if it sees you. That's one way to tell a Moroi. And one other way to test for Moroi, which I like to do, is mid-hunt, because obviously you might be on low sanity at this point, and you can hear how fast the ghost is. You can hear that it's quite fast. Be like, right, I'm going to pop some sanity pills mid-hunt, and this is one way I do it. I'll pop, let's say, 2 sanity pills, I think is best, and you'll hear it slowly, without seeing you, slow down and slow down until it gets to like a slower speed. And you can do that mid-hunt. So because your sanity is going up, the ghost will slow down during the hunt. So that's a really good way of working out Moroi. I tend to just work out Morois, to be fair, if I'm in a hunt and it seems to be fast constantly, and I've been in the house for ages, and I know my sanity's low and it seems constantly fast even though it can't see me, I might be like, right, this is a Moroi. Yeah, so the other thing it can do, if you're playing on evidence, if you speak in a spirit box or if you hear it in a parabolic microphone, it can do a curse on you. And this is why I tend to leave spirit box last when I'm doing evidences, because I don't want to get cursed by the Moroi. Basically, there's a, let's see, okay, I don't know the percent chance, but there's a chance that when you speak to a Moroi in the room, or you hear it on a parabolic microphone, that it can place a curse and then passively drain your sanity twice as fast as other ghosts. So it's kind of substantial. Your sanity will just start dropping faster and faster because it wants to get stronger and stronger. So yeah, that's something a Moroi does. So if your sanity just seems to have absolutely plummeted over time without any events already, then you might be like, hang on, this might be Moroi. I did speak to it on the parabolic. Sorry, I did hear it on the parabolic, and I did speak to it on my spirit box. Maybe it's a Moroi. But yeah, the best way, in my opinion, to work out Moroi is mid-hunt, take sanity pills, or just hear that it's fast from a distance at all times without line of sight. And if you've been in the game ages, then of course it will be like that. So you might, if it in the first hunt, it might be normal speeds. But then if you do like another hunt and another hunt and another hunt, and you haven't taken any sanity pills and it's still the same speed, I'd be like, right, it's probably not a Moroi. However, if it gets faster and faster every hunt, I'd be like, right, it's probably a Moroi. Okay, we are on our second to last ghost now. I know it's been a long time, but we're nearly there. Dio. A lot of people's favorite ghost, this, Dio. Now, you won't actually get this ghost, apparently, and I don't know this for sure, but everyone says this. You won't get this ghost until, I think, level 30. I guess it's because of its ability, which we'll get into in a second. Dio, sometimes surrounded by an endless fog. That means nothing, by the way. That means absolutely nothing. There's no fog surrounding the ghost or anything. Dios have been eluding ghost hunters for years. These ghosts have been reported to find even the most hidden prey before stalking them into exhaustion. Strength, Dios constantly sense the living. You can run, but you can't hide. Weakness, Dio require a lot of energy to form and will move very slowly when approaching his victim. So, I don't really know what the lot of energy to form means, really. But anyway, the most important things you need to know. So, it has no line of sight speeds. Dios have no line of sight. So that's super important. They hunt, apparently, according to my notes, at 40% sanity. I actually thought it was 50, but apparently it's 40. Again, I play on a lot of no evidence and insanity and nightmare mode, so I don't actually have a a sanity board, so I don't actually know what sanities I'm on, but it feels around 50%. So the difference with Deos, so when they first hunt you, it's really scary because you'll hear a super fast ghost. You'll be like, it's 3 meters per second when at any distance, without line of sight, it will be really fast. And you'll hear bum, 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 bum. And it will be getting closer to you because a Deo always knows where you are. It can sense where you are. No matter where you are on the map, it will find you and it will run to you really fast. However, as soon as it gets close to you, it will go from 3 meters a second to the slowest speed in the game of any ghost, 0.4 meters per second. So as soon as it's about, honestly, from this line to about here, it will be really slow, like snail pace. And honestly, you can literally just 360 it. What I tend to do is like chuck things at it. The main thing is don't hide from a Deo, because let's say you're like, I don't know, hidden in this corner, and the Deo's, you hear the ghost, it sprints towards you, and then you hear it be super slow. You're then cornered and you can't get out. Yeah, this is why I always tend to, on my first hunt at least, try and stick to looping it first, and then I tend to, like, maybe if I need to, go hide. But yeah, Deos will always know where you are. They'll sprint to you, and they always know where you are, so they'll sprint straight to you, and then they'll slow down when they get close. And that's honestly, they're Deos and Revenants are the two easiest ghosts to work out in a hunt. Like, you can instantly rule it out when a hunt happens. They're super, super unique. Now, the other important thing, Deo will always show Spirit Box. So, you know how a Moroi always shows Spirit Box? Deos are the same. They always show Spirit Box, and they've got this really cool thing where, you turn off the shower. This guy loves having a shower. Deos have this really cool thing where they can leave a unique sound on the Spirit Box, and it's the only ghost that can leave a unique sound on Spirit Box. They leave something called a Deo growl, and it will be like heavy breathing in the Spirit Box. It will be it's very, very obvious. It's the only ghost that can do something unique on the Spirit Box. Obviously the Banshee can leave a scream, but that's on the parabolic only. This is only on the Spirit Box. A Deo leaves a growl. So if I have got my Spirit Box out, I know that it's in the room and it's left a Spirit Box sound, you might see me often keep speaking to it over and over, because it has a 33% chance of leaving a Deo growl. So I will be speaking to it on the Spirit Box over and over. I might be just keep speaking, and if I've done if it's responded to me like 6 times and I haven't had the growl, it's unlikely to be a Deo. But when worst comes to worst, do a hunt and it's really obvious when it's a Deo. And yeah, that's pretty much everything you need to know about Deo. So we're going to our final ghost, ladies and gents. We've made it. Congratulations. A Thaye, another interesting ghost. And honestly, if you're playing on Insanity mode or above, like customs, the most scary ghost, in my opinion. So, Thayes have been known to rapidly age over time, even in the afterlife. From what we've learned, they seem to deteriorate faster while within the presence of the living. Strength. Upon entering the location, Thayes will become active, defensive, and agile. Weakness. Thayes will weaken over time, making them weaker, slower, and less aggressive. So, Thayes have no line of sight. So they will not speed up when they can see you. So let's say you're training a Thaye around this, it will not speed up when it can see you. It will stay the same speed. However, a Thaye can hunt at 75% sanity. Thayes have this interesting thing. So unlike a Moroi, where the lower sanity you are, the more powerful it becomes, a Thaye's the opposite, but in a different way. So a Thaye at the beginning can be really aggressive and really scary, and can actually hunt you at 75% sanity. However, the way it ages is you have to be in the room with it, and if you're in the room with it, it will start aging. I think it's, let's see, it changes age every 1 to 2 minutes. So one way you can test for a Thaye is if you have a Ouija board, you can actually say at the start of the hunt, you can say, how old are you? And it might say like 2 or something, or 3 years old, or I don't know, or 50, or anywhere to I think like 90 years old. And then you can ask it again later on, and it's the only ghost that will actually change age if you ask it later on. And that's a way to know if it's a Thaye, because it would have changed age. But honestly, because I do a lot of no evidence, I'll give you some tips of how I find it, because I don't actually get cursed objects when I do no evidence. Thayes can hunt at 75% sanity, so when I'm playing Insanity mode, they can hunt you instantly. Demons and Thayes are the only ghosts that will hunt you off the bat, as long as you don't speak to a Yokai, of course. They're the only ghosts that can hunt you straight off the bat on Insanity mode, because you start at 75% sanity, and it will be really fast when it's young. So as soon as you enter the house, if you get hunted and it's bang, 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 bang really fast, and it's actually 2.7 meters per second at its fastest, then you might be like, right, this is a Thaye. However, later on into the game, the longer you spend in the ghost room, the older it will get, and it can go all the way down to 1 meters per second at oldest. And as I said, it doesn't have line of sight speed, so it will be like that constantly, flatlined, same speed throughout the entire hunt. So yeah, the Thaye ages over time, I believe, very slowly, but it will age a lot faster, I believe, if you're in the room with it. And basically, the best way to work out a Thaye is if you enter the house, you get hunted instantly. It's a Thaye or a demon. If it's fast, then it's a young Thaye, and you can say, right, this is a Thaye. It was super fast and it hunted me as soon as I entered. And then if you're really late game and you spent lots of time in the ghost room and the ghost is maybe becoming less aggressive and not doing much, and then it hunts you and it's super slow, you might be like, right, this is a Thaye. And yeah, Thayes are relatively obvious to work out, because if you've been playing the game, if you've been in the game for ages and the ghost is still the same speed the entire time in a hunt, then you can probably be like, right, this isn't a Thaye. And especially the main thing to work out Thaye is the line of sight. If it doesn't change line of sight, then it can only be one of a few ghosts, that being Thaye, Hantu, Raiju, unless it's of course not next to electronics, and like a Dio and a Rev obviously are super obvious to work out as well. Yeah, I believe that is everything to know about a Thaye. Yeah, so it ages over time. It will age faster if you're in the room with it, and that's a Thaye. And I believe that is my entire ghost guide completed. If you enjoyed the video, let me know. Leave a like. If I've missed anything, which is very possible, leave a comment and I will acknowledge it in the comments. And yeah, I believe that should be everything you need to know about Phasmophobia Ghosts. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like. Feel free to subscribe. I'm going to do more guides. I'm going to do a guide on every single game mode in the game and how I set up and win most of my games in that specific game mode. And I've got loads of video ideas coming up. Other guides in terms of equipment, tier 1s, 2s, and 3s. Loads of content coming. So if you are interested, feel free to leave a sub. If this is helpful, leave a like and a sub as well. And yeah, I stream most days at 4 PM currently on Twitch. So if you and actually YouTube at the moment. So if you ever want to go watch a stream and see this stuff happen in person live, then go watch that. And yeah, guys, thank you all for watching. I appreciate every single one of you, and have a great ghost hunting experience, and I'll see you next time in the next video. Goodbye.